Welcome to 30 Minute Theology. I am Olu Oshako. Ask that you would like, subscribe, and share this uh, with all your people. Share it with your mama. Share it with your best friend. Share it with your frenemy, your downright enemy. Share it with whomever you can, and definitely like as well. That helps with the algorithm and helps others to see what thus saith the Lord. All right. Let's jump into things. We're in chapter 16 of the book of Judges. The next session will be closing out chapter 16. But the thought for today is carried away. One day, Samson went to the Philistine town of Gaza and spent the night with a prostitute. Word soon spread that Samson was there, so the men of Gaza gathered together and waited all night at the town gates. They kept quiet during the night, saying to themselves, "When the light of morning comes, we will kill him." And there's so much to unpack here. Number one, Samson just has the can't help it when it comes to the women of Philistia. His wife was from Timnah in Philistia. Now he's hooking up with a prostitute. Where? In Philistia. And in this sense, he may have been doing it as a means of getting a sexual release and doing it in a place where they may not look at him too crazy for doing that, although they should, because they know who he is and they know what he stands for. But it'd be a lot more damning probably for him publicly if he were to visit a house of ill repute in Israel. And he went as far away from Israel as he could. Gaza, as you can see on the map, is on the coastline of Philistia, where Israel is much more landlocked to the east. Samson, again, just can't help himself when it comes to literally pretty much anything. Went after a wife and got her. She was not supposed to be marrying him, and he wasn't supposed to be marrying her because Israelites are not supposed to marry outside of Israel, but he did it anyway. The honey in the body of the lion, he wasn't supposed to touch a dead animal who has paws, but he did it, just doing whatever he wants to, disregarding the Lord's commands. And here he is engaging in fornication with with a Philistine woman. Nonetheless, he just has low regard for the commands of the Lord, even though he was called to lead God's people. He was the judge of Israel, the one who God selected to free the Israelites from the hands of their oppressors, being the Philistines, which this shows that your position does not keep you from the pressures and the things that everyone else deals with in life. And just because you're leading, it doesn't mean that you are in right standing, which is why it's so important that you pray for those in leadership. Often there are different levels of temptation, different kinds of tests that come their way that don't come to those in leadership, because the fall of a leader has more impact than the fall of someone who's not leading as many people. Samson, much of the reason why he did what he did is because of his arrogance and his pride. It says that it didn't take them long to know that Samson was there. Why aren't you going incognito? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You are in your enemy's city and you just there. It's like, I'm here, what you gonna do about it? Now, granted, he may have felt like that because of God's power moving in his life, but that's still arrogant, that's still prideful, and that pride is something that we'll see more of and the impact of on his life as we continue on in today's lesson. But Samson stayed in bed only until midnight. Then he got up, took hold of the doors of the town gate, including the two posts, and lifted them up, bar and all. He put them on his shoulders and carried them all the way to the top of the hill across from Hebron. As you can see, this map here shows Gaza, and the red box is Hebron. So it's quite a distance away. It's about 37 and a half miles away. But let's stop and think about this. Now, we got this medieval gate here. It's a more like a drawbridge kind of gate because it goes up and down versus opening as these gates did. That's why it speaks of the two posts that were pulled up. Nevertheless, I put this gate here because this is representative of what that kind of gate looked like. It was, made of wood. It was reinforced with metal, whether that be bronze or iron. It was heavy. It was big. And not only did he take one of the doors of the gate, he took both of the doors of the gate and took the post out the ground, lifted everything out. That is just like mind blowing. It's inconceivable. The fact that he did that while the men were there at the gate as well, sleeping, is an absolute miracle that they didn't wake up and kill him. That he was able to take those things out, take them over a marathon, about a marathon and a half away from where they were located. Again, just shows the power of God at work in his life. Sometime later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah who lived in the valley of Sorek. Again, a Philistine that he is involved with. He loves her. But, we'll see whether or not that love is requited as we go on. He fell deeply in love, though, with this woman that he knows he shouldn't have anything to do with. He didn't marry her. He just fell in love with her and they engaged in what lovers engage in. Oftentimes you'll hear when it comes to relationships, love is all you need. That's a lie. You need a whole lot more than love. Samson had all the love in the world for Delilah. But as we will see, that wasn't enough to make the relationship work. You need much more than love. You need trust. You need dependability. You need accountability. You need some long suffering and resilience. You need a whole lot more than love. Love is not all you need to survive. I mean, outside of the love of God, now that's all you need. But when it comes to romantic relationships and even platonic relationships, just because you love someone, it doesn't mean that will hold the relationship together. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, "Entice Samson to tell you what makes him so strong and how he can be overpowered and tied up securely. Then each of us will give you 1,100 pieces of silver." Philistia is set up of 5 city-states. So you're looking at 5,500 pieces of silver. I did the math on that. And in today's value, you're looking at right around $92,000. That's not, an amount to sneeze at. But if you're in love with somebody, you're going to give them up for $92,000. She did. Now, whether she loved him or not, that's another story. We don't know. And her actions here with this, and as we continue to read, don't really lend to her loving him. She was definitely drawn to him. But he, being Samson, just seems to be drawn to disloyal women. His wife sold him out, gave him up, gave up the information to the men there in Philistia because she feared for her life. This one sold him out literally for money. So, if things are not going right in your relationships and you seem to keep running to the same situations, it's probably not the other person. You have to look at the common denominator, which is yourself. So Delilah said to Samson, please tell me what makes you so strong and what it would take to tie you up securely. Like, now, unlike his wife, she just came out and was like, hey, tell me, how to do this, versus his wife was dancing around things like, oh, you gotta, you got the proverb that you're telling all them, the riddle, but you haven't told me about it. What is it? No, she was like, hey, what's gonna make you, what's gonna make you like everybody else? Which this causes me to think that Samson was not the kind of man, or not built like what we see him portrayed as. We see this big, muscle bound man in many of the theatrical renditions that we see of the story of Samson. If he was all muscle bound, they wouldn't be asking, where do you get your strength from? It'd be kind of obvious you get your strength from all the muscles that you got. I think of the World's Strongest Man competition and how men are out there pulling airplanes and stuff. It's like, wow, that's amazing that they're doing it. They're also really big men. So, you can kind of put two and two together as to how that happened. Where with Samson, if they don't know the source of his strength, he probably doesn't have all those muscles. Samson replied, if I were tied up with 7 new bowstrings that have not been dried, or that have not yet been dried, I would become as weak as anyone else. So the Philistine rulers brought Delilah 7 new bowstrings, and she tied Samson up with them. Why did he say hadn't been dried? That just kind of stuck out to me. It's like, well, what's the difference between a dry bowstring and a fresh one? I would think that fresh is probably stronger, but that's not the case. As bowstrings dry, they actually get stronger. They get more pliable as they dry. They last longer. It improves bows when you allow them to dry in the bow, because it pulls and tightens the bow and makes it more useful. Obviously, Samson did not trust her because he did not tell her what was going on. And the reason why he told her, hey, yeah, 7 bowstrings that haven't been dried. It's like, yeah, get 7 bowstrings that aren't as strong as they're supposed to be and put them on me. And that's how I will be captured. Just playing with her. I mean, and if you're thinking about it, like, why would you use a bowstring that isn't at its strength yet? That doesn't make sense. Again, Samson in his intellect and in his arrogance is saying, hey, I'm smarter than you, so let me tell you this stupid thing and see if you go for it. But because I'm Samson, I'm so full of myself and everybody thinks so highly of me. Let's see if you'll do it. Unfortunately, he did not learn his lesson, because this is the same kind of thing that he did with his wife. It's so important that we learn the lessons from the things that we go through, so that we don't have to go through them again, if we even get a chance to repeat that class. She had hidden some men in one of the inner rooms of her house, and she cried out, Samson, the Philistines will come to capture you. But Samson snapped the bowstrings as a piece of string snaps when it's burned in the fire. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Samson had to be a heavy sleeper for her to be hiding men and stuff in her house. You got them coming in, they're hiding, and then in place to get you. He had to be a pretty heavy sleeper. Let's continue. Afterward, Delilah said to him, you've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now, please tell me how you can be tied up securely. Samson replied, if I were tied up with brand new ropes that had never been used, I would become as weak as anyone else. So Delilah took new ropes and tied him up with them. The men were hiding in the inner room, as before. And again, Delilah cried out, Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you. But again, Samson snapped the ropes from his arm as if they were thread. I'm using the same image that I used in the last lesson which was a big payback regarding the ropes, because when the 3,000 men of Judah came to take Samson and hand him over to the Philistines, they took two brand new ropes. And just like those two brand new ropes, these new ropes that she put on him snapped. She should have known better. They should have known better. They know that he was tied up before. Now, granted, did they see the ropes when they were taken to be put on him? No, but looking at this image, a new rope is pretty, you could tell a rope that's new. It's pretty clear that it's a new rope versus a rope that's been used for quite some time. Something else that just makes you scratch my head is, why is it that she keeps saying, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. Samson, you're under attack. If I was Samson and she kept doing that, I'd be looking kind of side-eyed at her, like, why you keep saying my enemies are upon me? Now, granted, I am in the enemy's territory, but why do you keep saying this versus just letting me wake up or waking me up to see whether or not what I said comes to pass and whether or not I can get out? I can get out either way it goes, whether I'm under attack or not. If I have my strength, and if I don't have my strength, again, whether I'm under attack or not, I won't be able to get out. That should have tipped him off, but in his pride and in his arrogance, he just kept on keeping on, and that will be further proven as we keep reading. So then Delilah said, "You've been making fun of me and telling me lies. Now tell me, how you can be tied up securely." Samson replied, "If I were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric of your loom and tighten it with the loom shuttle, I will become as weak as anyone else." So while he slept, Delilah wove the 7 braids of his hair into the fabric. Then she tightened it with the loom shuttle. Again, she cried out, "Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you." But Samson woke up, pulled back the loom shuttle, and yanked his hair away from the loom and the fabric. He was closer to telling the truth this time. He shared, hey, it does have to do with my hair, but still did not give the full story. It's hard to keep up lies. It's hard to find new and inventive ways of sharing untruths, which is why we shouldn't, be lying. There was a commercial many years ago on channel 24. When you tell one lie, it leads to another. Tell 2 lies to cover each other, and you just get in more and more trouble the more that you lie. The item that is on top that's hollowed out is the shuttle, which is what she was using to tighten his hair into the loom of fabric that she was weaving. Then Delilah pouted, "How can you tell me I love you when you don't share your secrets with me? You've made fun of me 3 times now, and you still haven't told me what it takes, or I should say, what makes you so strong." Peep this, though. Here, we're going to pause for a minute. She is using him, telling him, "You say you love me, but you won't tell me your secrets." That's so manipulative. If you're dealing with someone and they're using your supposed love to get you to do certain things, even if they're trying to get you to do the right things, watch that, because honestly, if you do love them, you should do it, but they shouldn't have to remind you of your love for them in order for you to do something. And then here we go all over again with Samson and these women. His wife, it's like, "Oh, you don't care about me. That's why you haven't told me anything." Delilah, you say you love me, but you won't share your secrets with me. If we don't learn our lessons, we are doomed to repeat them. Something else here, though, is that I went too far ahead. Something else here, though, is that she says, You tell me that you love me. She didn't say that she loved him, but he's too caught up in himself and in everything that he's doing that he can't see what's going on. Verse 16 says, she tormented him with her nagging day after day until he was sick to death of it. She literally nagged this man to death. We hear about people, oh, they nag me, they nag me, they nag me to death. No, this was literal. She literally nagged him to death because her nagging would lead to his demise and his destruction. Finally, Samson shared his secret with her. My hair has never been cut, he confessed, for I was dedicated to God as a Nazarite from birth. If my head was shaved, my strength would leave me and I would become as weak as anyone else. So he lied to her long enough that he finally gave in because he just couldn't bear the pressure anymore. Delilah realized he had finally told her the truth, so she sent for the Philistine rulers. Come back one more time, she said, for he has finally told me his secret. So the Philistine rulers returned with the money in their hands. So not only did they came with the money to pay out for the job that she was doing. This time, again, she knew that he was telling the truth. And that's because when you've been lied to for so long, when someone starts to tell the truth, it's different. It's different. And it stands out more so than a lot of the lies and things that they've said. That when you're telling the truth, there's a different feel that goes along with that. Delilah lulled Samson to sleep with his head in her lap. Then she called in a man to shave off the 7 locks of his hair. In this way, she began to bring him down, and his strength left. She didn't even have the guts to do it herself. The other time, she tied him up. She wove his hair into the loom. You know, she did all of those things, but when it came time to cut his hair, she had someone else do it. And it's so unfortunate. Not only was this done, he was in a place of comfort. Laying in a lap is supposed to be a safe and an intimate place, but it's in that place of so-called safety, that place of intimacy, where his demise began. It is so important that you stay away from the things that are going to kill you, specifically sin. Sin makes you feel good. It may make you comfortable, but you're not safe. It lies to you because it's from the father of lies, who is Satan. It dulls your senses. And for Samson, you know, he thought, oh, I'm good. You know, I'm Samson, I'm good. But let's keep reading. Then she cried out, Samson, the Philistines have come to capture you. When he woke up, he thought, I'll do this before and shake myself free. But he didn't realize that the Lord had left him. So many times before, when she would say these things, he just pop up, break everything off, and go and do what he needed to do to be safe. But this time the Lord left him and he didn't realize the Lord left him. How's it that God left him and he didn't know? He was asleep, number one, physically and spiritually. He was asleep. He didn't see what was going on because he was out of his mind and in a dream state. He did not see or even think that the Lord could leave him again because of his pride. No, I'll just do what I do all the time. You know, I sin all the time and I, ask the Lord to forgive me. Don't mistake his long suffering for his approval of what you're doing. Just because he continues to forgive you, just because he continues to make ways for you, just because he has not taken you out right now, doesn't mean that you're in right standing with God. God was using him, was giving him the power to do these things, which more than likely fed that pride and fed that arrogance. Just because God is using you doesn't mean that what you're doing, he approves of. So the Philistines captured him and gouged out his eyes. They took him to Gaza, where he was bound with bronze chains and forced to grind grain in the prison. So he lost naturally what was gone spiritually, which was his sight. The enemy took his sight out spiritually by giving him the things that made him feel good, giving him those things that pleased him. And now the Philistines, his physical enemy, have taken out his sight, literally, his physical sight. When we prepare a feast for our lust, we're often preparing a feast for our destruction. We give ourselves over to be destroyed when we follow after our passions, the passions and the desires of our flesh, versus following what God says. The word says that we should put off the old man and put on the new man. And the new man is the man that is created by and through the Spirit of God, versus our wicked, fleshly, sinful man. It says, no good thing dwells within it, and that it's so wicked we can't even know it. So you think, oh yeah, I gotta follow my gut on this. Your gut may not be what you need to follow. Well, let me not say your gut may not be what you need to follow. Unless your gut is being guided by God, then don't follow your gut. But before long, his hair began to grow back. This is so encouraging. That little bit of scripture is a spot, and it's something where you should put your pen in it and have hope. As long as you live, as long as you have life, and as long as there's an opportunity for you to make a change, you can be redeemed. Though Samson was dealing with all that he was dealing with, and being mocked, really, as he was taken away into captivity. Grinding grain is normally a woman's job within a home. Think about Abimelech, who was killed by the woman with the millstone. It didn't say a man took a millstone. It was a woman, because the women are the ones who ground the grain at home. But outside of that, on a large scale, if people were grinding grain, like what was happening here with Samson in the prison, pushing around that rock to grind the grain with a bar, that's slave labor. Whenever you see that happening, like in movies or whatever, people are always bound up and chained, and they're standing side by side and they're pushing it. And you can hear the rock grinding. Either way it goes, this was humiliating. They were mocking him. But as they were mocking him, they were actually strengthening him, because it is hard labor. And in order to do it, there's a level of strength that you have to have, and that is built by going through that. So little did they know, though they were mocking him, they were preparing him for what God was going to do next. All right, key points. Everybody needs Jesus, including leaders. So if you're leading, don't think that because you are leading and that God is using you, that shields you from what everybody else is going through, or that it justifies your sin. It does not. Love is not all you need in relationships. You need a whole lot more than love to make it work. Learn your lessons. Learn your lessons, or you may have to repeat the class. If you're able to repeat the class, thank God for it and get it right the second time, because not everyone gets a second chance. Sin makes you feel good, which is the reason why so many are bound by it. The scripture says that broad is the way to destruction, and that many are on that path. Why? Because it feels good. It's not safe, though. It's not the best thing for you. Just like eating junk food feels good and it tastes good, but it's not the best thing for you, and it's leading to your destruction. Next week, we will close out chapter 16 of Judges, with the topic being final words. Until then, God bless and keep it together.